Welcome back to TV's Cabin. This here is the machete handle I've been working on for a while. Finally got it tightened up and got it to fit. All I got to do now is cure the wood, and then I will drill the holes and put the rivets in here back in the same holes that's already in the handle, and this will be the handle. So it's not on there tight yet, but it's tight as it's in there where it'll fit a lot better. I've rasped this down. I've rasped the top part down some. I may rasp down some more on it after I get the rivets where to hold. I'm going to rasp the sides down a little bit more to make sure that, I wish I had a belt sander. I could sure make it look a lot better. But it's fitting up better and better all the time. As you see, it fits your hand. You got the teardrop right there. You got a piece of wood between you and that steel. Now thumb protection. So when you're chopping or splitting, you can come down with full thrust. But, you know, I don't know. There's a third handles that I put on here since I made this machete. Of course, the first one was dry rotted stuff. This is a lot better than the other two that I built. So we're getting better at it. And I'll turn it up this way. Let y'all have a look-see at it. Let me go in there a little more. I'll lock it into this vise here so I can work on it some more. But like I say, I'm going to have to mark off the holes on this one because of where it got to be drilled for the rivets to go through. When I rivet this on, it's going to be a pretty nice setup. Now I'm probably going to just find me a shim like this and fill this corner. I'll shave it down some more, but with a knife or wood wedge or something. And what I've got in mind is just putting something in there to keep that tight on this end. Drive a shim in there, but that was too thick. But I'll make it the right length, the right thickness here in a minute, and I'll show you how that's done. Let's see. Here's a flat-faced hammer. And here's a chisel. And we can, this end's pretty well flattened, but if this end is thicker, so I'm going to just trim off a little bit without putting it in the vise, but I should. It hasn't entered in the wood yet. Barely. Too much giggle on this table with bouncing around. It ain't going to split down. I'm just trying to split off the shim off from it to fill that hollow spot out beside the handle. There we go. Now if it don't split off, I'd like for it to split all the way down. If it will. Yeah, shoot. Done everything but what I wanted to. Well, alright. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. But a little yeah, right there is what I want. That'll fit. I could drive it down in there, but I'm not ready to fasten it yet. But I may just stick it in there for a second. And what that's done for is just a snug line. Then we cut this off and then we put some filler in there. We're just going to put this stuff here and a little wood glue. In fact, I've got a cup of it sitting over here of cheese, of this kind of thing. It's dumped out on the table now. It wasn't right here. And you just mix a little bit of glue with that. It could even be Elmer's, but I prefer to use egg glue on the outside. If an outside weather, that's better. Then you just cut that off when you drop it down in there. But I've done that to tighten the handle up there just a little bit so it'll stay in place while I'm messing around here with it. But I'm not going to leave that in there, so don't worry about that. That's just that took up some of the slack in the handle. once I have the pins in here and this cured out, this piece of wood, which I'll cure it out there on the smoker here in a little bit. I'll take the rest of the evening just curing this piece of wood. But I don't care about that, how long it takes, as long as I've got me a handle. Then I'll have a handle so I can go back and split wood. But this was a heavier handle than what I had before. I can take that back out now. But a shim like that is what I'll do is I'll drive it down in there, fill that crack in. I'll show you there, see where I drilled it out. It wallowed out pretty wide there. It wasn't my intention, but that's the way it turned out. And so then you got to refill in the gaps. Like in here, I'll fill all this in with sawdust and glue. That can be filled in. This can be filled. But once we get the secure part here drilled through where the main wood goes into the handle, you'll have it secure. Then I can work this down to whatever shape I want. And I need to work this down a little more across here. I want this down and this down in there a little more across here. What I'm talking about for your hand. See how my hand fits there pretty good. But I can't really use but one hand on this particular type machete. Some folks refer to it as a short sword. In a way it is. In a way it ain't. It's heavier than a sword, or just as heavy. And it's a short sword, if they want to call it a sword. But it needs some work yet. Like I say, on the handle, I've got to put the rivets in to hold it. And I'm going to use steel rivets on this most likely. I may use, it'll either be steel wood or wood, because I may decide to use wood just to make it primitive like they did thousands of years ago, and even hundreds of years ago they still did it that way. They didn't have steel, so they drilled out the holes in the handle. In fact, some of the countries didn't have none but bronze or copper swords, and they were worthless until they come out with steel swords. Or a copper sword will kill you, but it bends too easy and breaks against a good steel sword or a steel machete like this. As you can see, that's 2.5 inches wide by 3/16 of an inch thick. And the thing is, I think it's 21 inches overall over this part here. So it's a pretty good little machete. Well, let me see. Don't give me a line. I think it was 21 inches. Maybe we'll just see here. No, I'm wrong. The blade itself is 17 inches. The thing is 21 3/4 long overall. That's just a regular push mower, lawnmower blade, so what can you expect? It ain't going to be any longer than 22 inches on most push mowers. That's the reason I like to get a hold of the riding lawnmower, but even they're not as long, because there's two of them, one on each side, so they're not going to be able to, probably 42 inches wide. Mine's 48, I think, on my biggest one, but off of my Troy build. But anyway, something like this is what I'm working down to on the handle. I'm going to work it down some more here and here, round this around, fill this in with the sawdust and that glue, and it'll hold for a long time. It could last hundreds of years. 100 years anyway. And before that handle would have to be replaced if I don't break it. But see, machetes are normally used just for brush cutting. I use mine for splitting firewood. I've got to get out of here because it's time to cook some supper. And plus, I want to take this off and go ahead and heat treat this and let this dry for a few hours anyway. It'll help some on this piece of wood on drying it out. I'll smoke cure it, and that's your handle when I get it worked out. But I thank y'all for tuning in. I think this is video 10, most likely 9 or 10. But I forget my numbers of videos, but it doesn't matter. It's just a matter of working the handle out to suit yourself and what shape you want. See, it was still green, and you notice it has a split area here and there. So it's not perfect, no. It's just a cheap handle, something to put on there that